After months of negotiations, the US and Ukraine have signed the minerals agreement, and it's actually not even half that bad. It's far better, actually, than was feared by a lot. The US will get access to important minerals, but also to oil and gas. The Ukrainian side, on the other hand, hopes for long-term aid against Russia. This could actually work. The first sale of weaponry to Ukraine is already been reported. That's the first additional weaponry that are going to Ukraine since the inauguration of Donald Trump. So what's in that contract and how can we judge it? All about this in this video. Yulia Svyridenko, the deputy prime minister and the Ukrainian economy minister, has signed the mineral agreement yesterday. The official name is the Agreement on the Establishment of a United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. All resources remain Ukrainians. That's the first important thing. So it's not that Ukraine hands over the rights to the resources. Ukraine is also being the side that decides what is going to be mined and where it's going to be mined. This allows them full control, including in questions, for instance, about infrastructure or in questions of environment, as they are the ones who can say, no, we will not open that open pit mine here that you would like to. Underground resources, as said, remain fully in Ukrainian property, Ukrainian property. Only the income from resources that will start to be mined after that signature will become part of that fund, and not the mines, not the resources itself. The overall system of this will be through a fund. The fund will be 50-50 in property. Both sides are jointly managing it, Ukraine as well as the United States, but 50-50 also means no side has a dominant vote. This was in the past, there was 3-5, 3-2, for instance, up for negotiations. This is gone. Ukrainians and the US have the equal voice in that fund. There is no influence, no grabbing of the private property, and no influence in the management of government-run organizations, government-run companies. They remain Ukrainian. That was also in one of the drafts. According to that, the Ukrainians would have to hand over their own companies to that fund. All of this is gone. The contract has also no contact with the so-called Ukrainian debt. So there is no mentioning of that whatsoever. It's purely aimed at economic cooperation between the two nations. So Trump's claim that he wants that the US have paid 300 billion and that he wants them back and that the fund should do that is gone. It's simply there is no acknowledgement of US debt through the war deliveries. None of this is part of this. It's the Ukrainian side it's a demonstration of to international partners that a partnership is possible, even spanning decades. So for the Ukrainian side, they say this will help them show international community that you can do long-term agreements with Ukraine. The fund will be financed through new licenses. So 50% of all income from the new licenses in the areas of critical minerals, oil and gas will be sent into the fund. The existing projects have nothing to do with it. Income from there will happen as they have been before. Nothing will change. The US, in the other side, will help find additional investment and technology to implement it, to help modernize Ukraine. Nobody who is nobody who has profited from the war of aggression is allowed to profit from the reconstruction. So also making sure that nefarious actors cannot profit from this. The funds will be supported by the US government over the US International Development Finance Corporation, and the profits from the funds will neither be taxed by the US nor by Ukraine, to allow for the maximum amount of money to go into future investments. For the US, this means they will help fill the fund. The discussions here, the details are still somewhat unclear, but the framing, the exact words are, in addition to direct financial contributions. It may also provide new assistance, for example, air defense systems for Ukraine. So in addition to direct financial contributions, which would assume that the US might actually send money to Ukraine to start, for instance, new mines, they will also mention that this will allow, that this will judge to future weapon deliveries as part of an investment into that funds, allowing for the Ukrainian side to have an open door to receive additional weapons from the United States. For Ukraine, this means 50% of all government profits from new projects are going to go into that fund. And this is the important thing. First of all, it's only 50%. The rest will still go into the government budget, and it's only from new project. Now, while 50% is obviously a lot, the fact that it's new project means it's projects where there's no income whatsoever. And with the help of the US, some of these new mines will be opened, will open in the future that otherwise might not even have opened. So in this regard, while it surely could be a better ratio than 50% directly into the coffers of the Ukrainian government, the other 50% are going to be invested in this. So it's actually not that bad, in my opinion. The money will be used for, in the fund, the money will be used for additional projects to mine critical minerals, oil and gas, and also the adjacent infrastructure. So I guess if a pumping station is needed to connect the gas to some pipeline system, that would also be financed through it and be part of that fund. The plan is to not withdraw any money for the first 10 years to allow for a maximum investment in the Ukrainian side for projects, for new mining projects, new resource projects, as well as for reconstructions. But the important caveat here is these terms will be subject for further discussion. So it's planned, that doesn't mean it's signed yet, it's fixed yet, and up for future discussion obviously allows for some problems to still arise as well. The US also emphasized their commitment for peace in Ukraine. They acknowledge Ukraine's participation in and important role in world security, including giving up their own nuclear weapons. It is an agreement that reaffirms the United States of America committed to Ukraine's security, recovery, and reconstruction is part of it as well. So in total, that doesn't actually sound too bad if we come to a summary of it. Other than previous drafts that were been told, Ukraine will not be a junior partner. It'll be an equal partner in that fund. It is also not going to be a colonial contract. That was in part during that time the draft was spread around that I was calling a colonial contract, but I saw that it wasn't just me. A lot of people were actually calling it, but I think it was even worse because a colony was usually protected by its colonial master, and these drafts that were handed around wouldn't even include that, while turning Ukraine basically into a mineral colony. At the same time, we have to see this is a huge success for the Ukrainian negotiating team. All the insolent requests are gone. It's also very important that there are no acknowledgement of debt. There's no acknowledgement of debt. The weapons that were given to Ukraine were given free of charge. That was done so from the beginning. So for Ukraine to make sure that Trump has not succeeded in a Ukrainian acknowledgement of them owing the United States 100 billion or 200 billion is an important success for Ukraine. And as said, like from a legal standpoint, it was given to them for free. It was given as clear aid, not as a line of credit. So why should Ukraine pay it back in some way? On the contrary, the Americans will likely send aid into that fund, contribute into the fund. Here it's unclear to which degree they will actually send money, but it seems that weapons will also be accounted as a participation. And while that is not a real security, it is at least a minor security light, I guess, because if this allows Ukraine to keep buying, to keep getting weapons from the United States, even under a Trump government, that's still a big success, because that was a lot up for up for questioning whether the Ukrainian side will receive additional weapons. The resources, also important, remain Ukrainian property. Only part of the license fees are going into that fund. So it's not that everything underground in Ukraine is suddenly US. Only part of the licensing fees, and Ukraine gets something in return. The government will remain the decider in the end, where and how it's going to be mined. Also very important for environmental things, for strategic things that, I mean, in Germany, for instance, there are open pit mines that have destroyed whole towns because the mine was considered to be more important than an old town. So they completely demolished the town. Something like this cannot happen unless the Ukrainians want it to happen. Also very important for this regard. The contract still has to be ratified in Ukraine. According to the negotiator, it is in compliance with all the laws and the constitution. According to her, Julia Svyrydenko, the only thing that needs to be changed is the budget code, probably to allow 50% of it to go into the fund instead of into the government's budget. Ukraine has in part has succeeded and has achieved a positive surprise in this regard, but there are still questions open, obviously, where some problems might still arise. The fact that, for instance, some things still have to be discussed, some things where it said we are expecting to, this still allows for some problems. And an opposition politician said the deal in the White House before the fallout where Zelensky was thrown out of the White House was better than was signed today, but still even the opposition acknowledged that it's not a bad contract overall. And as to finish all of this up, the US has already announced that they are selling weapons in a volume of $50 million to Ukraine. So this is the first weapon sale since the end of the Biden administration. In this regard, it immediately came with a declaration of weapon sale. I guess that's good news, and it's probably not going to be the last weapon sale. So overall, I think Ukraine got away fairly well. Some questions are still open, some problems might still arise, but the important thing is that it could have turned it into a disaster, forcing Ukraine to hand over government property, forcing Ukraine to nationalize and hand over private property. None of this finds itself there. All the resources remain Ukrainian property. The only thing that changes is that part of the profits for the government are being redirected, but only from new projects. And if we see that Ukraine that is struggling with the war right now, and then with reconstruction, to which degree it would even have the money to start new resource projects is questionable. Now it might receive US aid for that, so the profits, while they might be smaller, they will still be bigger than zero as they are right now. In total, I think it's actually a fairly fine deal, and if it opens Ukraine to additional weapons from the United States, it's obviously exactly what Ukraine needed right now, at least exactly what Ukraine needed and was able to achieve in the context of having Donald Trump in the White House. Overall, it seems a good deal, and that's where we leave it for today. Nothing more to say from it unless we find something out new in the future. If you don't want to miss that, then I would like to invite you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm, and leave a comment if you have something to add. But that's it from me for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back.